Today we are exposing 6 ice cream brands sold in Australia that are so pumped full of water, vegetable oils, gums and sugar that many experts say they barely qualify as real ice cream at all. Stay with me to the end, because after we pull apart the worst tubs in the supermarket, I will show you the simple, actually creamy options that still behave like real ice cream, and how to spot the fakes in 5 seconds. We grew up thinking ice cream was simple: milk, cream, sugar, egg yolks if you are fancy. And that is not just nostalgia. That is literally how traditional ice cream is defined. Food standards and dairy scientists say real ice cream should contain at least 10% milk fat, and that fat has to come from dairy, not random vegetable oils. But here is the part nobody talks about. Once big manufacturers realized how cheap it is to swap out cream for reconstituted skim milk, glucose syrup and plant oils, the whole freezer aisle shifted. Now, in the same freezer where your grandparents bought honest ice cream, you will find ice confections and frozen desserts made with vegetable oil instead of cream. You will find light and 97% fat-free tubs where the fat has been replaced by a cocktail of sugar, thickeners and gums. You will find cheaper brands where water and sugar are literally the first 2 ingredients. So when you scoop from the wrong tub, you are not just having a little treat. You might be feeding your body a cold, sweet, ultra-processed emulsion dressed up in nostalgia. Let us start with the brand most Australians grew up trusting. Number 1, Street's Blue Ribbon Vanilla, the Australian classic that quietly became a frozen dessert. If you grew up in Australia, Street's Blue Ribbon Vanilla is probably part of your childhood. The blue tub, the family bowls at Sunday lunch. Most people still call it ice cream. But look at the current ingredient list for Blue Ribbon Vanilla. Dairy ingredients, which are reconstituted buttermilk, cream and milk solids. Then glucose, sugar, vegetable oils, emulsifiers and vegetable gums like guar, tara, locust bean and carrageenan, plus flavors and colors. 2 big red flags. Vegetable oils are in there. A clear sign that part of the creaminess is coming from cheap plant fat, not just dairy. And a whole lineup of gums and emulsifiers is needed to hold the water, dairy powders and oils together in that perfectly uniform scoop. On review sites, product ratings tell you how people feel about this change. Blue Ribbon Vanilla often scores poorly, with complaints that it is not creamy anymore, just icy and watery, and that it tastes like cheap frozen foam. On forums, Australians have noticed tubs changing from ice cream to frozen dessert, pointing out that manufacturers are clearly playing around at the margins to save money. So why is this a problem? Because your brain still sees Australian vanilla ice cream, real milk, real cream. But the back of the tub now reads more like reconstituted buttermilk, sugar and vegetable oil held together with gums, a frozen dairy-style dessert engineered more for cost and texture than for purity. And if you think switching to 97% fat-free will solve it, Number 2 shows how that can take you even further from real ice cream. Number 2. Blue Ribbon Light Vanilla 97% fat-free, when fat-free means sugar, oil and stabilizers. Right next to the classic tub you will find Blue Ribbon Light Vanilla Frozen Dessert, 97% fat-free. The messaging is clear. Light, 97% fat-free. Treat the family with less guilt. Now look at the ingredients. Dairy ingredients, mostly reconstituted buttermilk and reconstituted skim milk. Glucose syrup, sugar, vegetable oil, emulsifiers, stabilizers and flavors. So what actually changed to make it light? Even less dairy fat, more sugar and glucose syrup, still vegetable oil, and the same family of gums and emulsifiers. From a health perspective, that swap is classic ultra-processed logic. Remove natural fat, replace the mouthfeel with sugar, starches and gums. Slap 97% fat-free on the front and hope no one checks the sugar content. In your mouth, this shows up as a lighter, fluffier texture, a much sweeter taste, and a weirdly non-melting character, holding its shape too long because of all those gums. So why is this a problem? Because ice cream is supposed to contain fat. When you strip that out and replace it with sugar, you are often not significantly reducing calories, but you are increasing the glycemic hit and the degree of processing. On the label, it says light, fat-free, better for you. Underneath, many critics would say it is closer to a frozen sugar and oil dessert with a health halo and a long additives list. Number 3, Peter's Original Vanilla. When original means water first, Peter's Original Vanilla 2-litre is another freezer staple in Australian homes. It literally says original, which most people read as old school or classic, but a detailed ingredient breakdown reveals the truth. The first ingredient is water, then dairy ingredients like reconstituted skim milk and milk solids, then sugar, glucose syrup, vegetable oil and/or cream, maltodextrin, emulsifiers, and vegetable gum. The main ingredients in this ice cream are water and sugar. That is the opposite of what you want in a premium frozen dairy dessert. Real ice cream starts with cream and milk. Peter's Original Vanilla starts with water and sugar, then reconstituted skim milk powder, then an optional mix of vegetable oil or cream to provide fat cheaply. So why is this a problem? Because every time you scoop this out, you are mostly eating sweetened, flavored ice, stabilized with emulsifiers and gums, with only a modest amount of real dairy richness. On your spoon, that shows up as faster melting into a puddle, less creamy mouthfeel, and a slightly icy, airy texture that feels hollow compared with real ice cream. The branding suggests original vanilla ice cream, the Australian classic, but the ingredient list reads more like water-based frozen dessert, bulked up with powders, oil, and additives to imitate real ice cream on the cheap. Number 4, Peter's Light and Creamy Classic Vanilla, light on cream, heavy on glucose syrup. Peter's Light and Creamy Classic Vanilla sounds like the thoughtful choice. Light, creamy, classic, but the ingredients are eye-opening. Reconstituted low-fat milk, 63%, then glucose syrup, sugar, milk solids, water, butter or cream, maltodextrin, emulsifiers, and vegetable gum. Again, the main driver of texture and calories is sugars, including glucose syrup, sugar, and maltodextrin, combined with reconstituted low-fat milk. The light and creamy name starts to look like a contradiction. From a real food perspective, this is less cream, more processed sugar sources, and more emulsifiers and gums to fake the mouthfeel. So what does that do in your bowl? You get the sensation of creaminess, but it is created by sugar and starches rather than actual fat. The ice cream can feel a bit gloopy or stretchy because of the gums. You might find yourself eating more to feel satisfied because the fat that normally triggers satiety just is not there. The label suggests healthier vanilla ice cream, still creamy, but the reality is an ultra-processed frozen dessert using low-fat milk and multiple sugars to give the illusion of old-school cream. Number 5. Woolworth's Essentials Reduced Fat. Vanilla, cheap tub, expensive on your health, Woolworths sells Essentials Reduced Fat Vanilla Ice Cream as the budget choice. Big tub, low price, perfect for feeding a crowd. But check the ingredient list. Water, sugar syrup, dairy ingredients like milk solids and skim milk concentrate, glucose syrup, maltodextrin, coconut oil, emulsifiers and vegetable gums. So again, water and sugar solution are right at the top. Dairy is in there, yes, but the fat phase is a blend that relies heavily on coconut oil, a cheap, hard vegetable fat that helps create body without paying for more cream. From a nutritional standpoint, you are getting a high-sugar, refined carbohydrate base mixed with saturated fat from coconut oil and some dairy, all held together with multiple gums. Per 100 grams, you are looking at around 696 kilojoules, roughly 3 to 4 grams of fat, but a significant chunk of calories from sugars and refined carbohydrates. So why is this a rip-off? because you think you are saving money. But what you are actually buying is half a tub of sweetened water, cheap plant fat, and a lot less real ice cream pleasure than just eating a small amount of the real thing. On the front, it says reduced fat vanilla ice cream. On the back, critics read it as frozen sugar syrup with some dairy powder and coconut oil to fake creaminess. Number 6, premium multi-pack sticks, fancy chocolate, same old gums. Brands like Connoisseur market themselves as the premium end of the freezer. Thick chocolate coatings, origin cocoa and single origin vanilla. And to be fair, they are a step up from the worst offenders, but they still reveal how even gourmet products get pulled into the ultra-processed game. Take Connoisseur Classic Vanilla 1-liter tub. It has dairy ingredients including cream at 26%, water, glucose syrup, sugar, emulsifiers, and vegetable gums. This is closer to real ice cream, with decent cream content, but it still relies on glucose syrup, emulsifiers, and gums. When you look at premium multi-pack sticks with chocolate coatings, the coating often adds more sugar, more fat from cocoa butter, plus extra vegetable oil and emulsifiers to manage the chocolate texture. You end up with a product that is delicious but very energy-dense, and firmly in the ultra-processed camp thanks to the combination of refined sugars, added oils, and multiple emulsifiers. The point is not that you can never eat these, it is that slapping a premium name on the box does not magically make it a health food. It is a high-calorie treat that still relies on industrial stabilizers and sometimes added vegetable oil. The pattern. This is not just one bad tub. It is a whole fake cream ecosystem. Across these 6 products, the same tricks keep showing up. Water and sugar first on the ingredient list instead of cream and milk. Vegetable oils, often coconut or generic vegetable oil, swapped in for dairy fat, glucose syrup, maltodextrin, and other refined carbohydrates used to bulk and sweeten cheaply. Gums and emulsifiers to glue together water, powders, and oils into something that looks like ice cream. Front of pack claims like original, light, 97% fat-free and creamy that obscure what is actually going on. So when you make these tubs a nightly habit, you're not just having dessert. You are building your diet on fake cream, cheap carbohydrates, and industrial stabilizers. The good news, you do not have to quit ice cream. You just have to change which tubs you reward. Now let us talk about the ice creams that are actually worth your time. You can keep dessert. You just need to stop mistaking frozen dessert for real ice cream. Here are a couple of better options and a dead simple label trick. Say for option 1, real cream-based tubs with short ingredients. Look for tubs where the first ingredients are cream, milk or skim milk, sugar, and maybe egg yolk with 1 or 2 simple stabilizers. That means avoiding water as ingredient 1, vegetable oil high up the list, and long strings of numbers in the middle. Products that come closer to this ideal include premium cream-based vanillas that list cream first, then milk, then sugar. Some smaller batch Australian brands in independence proudly highlight cream, milk, sugar, eggs, and vanilla, and that is it. They are richer. They are more expensive per scoop. But the logic is simple. Eat a small amount of actual ice cream instead of big bowls of frozen sugar and oil foam. Safer option 2, coconut or plant-based desserts that are honest. If you are dairy-free or vegan, you are not going to hit the classic ice cream definition, and that is fine. The goal is honesty and minimal processing. Some of the better plant-based options use coconut cream or other whole food fat sources. Avoid weird blends of refined vegetable oils and keep sugars and emulsifiers to a sensible level. For example, a clean coconut-based vanilla might list coconut cream, water, sugar, vanilla, and 1 emulsifier. That is still a treat, but it is a world away from something built on glucose syrup, mystery oils, and a dozen additives. The 5-second fake ice cream test. Next time you are in Coles, Woolworths or Aldi, flip any tub and run this quick test. What are the first two ingredients? If they are cream or milk and sugar, you are closer to real ice cream. If they are water and sugar or glucose syrup, you are holding frozen dessert. Is there vegetable oil? If you see vegetable oil or coconut oil high on the list in a dairy product, you are looking at a cream substitute. How long is the ingredient list? 5 to 8 ingredients is probably okay. A whole paragraph of gums, emulsifiers, powders and colors means ultra-processed. Is it bragging about being 97% fat-free or light and creamy? Assume that means more sugar and more processing. If a tub fails 2 or more of those checks, it does not belong in a freezer that is trying to protect your health. Final message and call to action. Ice cream should be one of the most honest foods in your house. Milk, cream, sugar, frozen into something joyful. But the 6 products we have just walked through show how far the Australian freezer aisle has drifted. Tubs, where the main ingredients are water and sugar, not cream. Light and 97% fat-free desserts that quietly jack up the glucose syrup and maltodextrin. Classic brands padding dairy with vegetable oils and gums to hit profit targets. At the same time, real ice cream, the kind based on cream, milk and sugar, still exists. You just have to stop letting the worst offenders pretend they are the same thing. You do not have to become the person who never eats dessert. Just pick one of the tubs from this video that lives in your freezer right now and replace it with a smaller tub that actually starts with cream and milk. Feel the difference in flavor, satisfaction, and how much you actually need to eat before you feel done. If this video helped you see the truth behind ice cream labels in Australian supermarkets, tap like so more Australians can protect their plate from fake frozen desserts dressed up as nostalgia. If you want more deep dives that protect your health and your family from the quiet tricks of the food industry, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. That is how we keep making videos the big brands will not love. Now tell me in the comments, which tub shocked you the most? The original that is mostly water and sugar, the 97% fat-free dessert built on vegetable oil, or the budget home brand that is really just frozen syrup? And what is the first swap you are making? A smaller real cream tub, a cleaner plant-based option, or simply eating ice cream less often but making it actually real when you do?